Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This video was inspired by some good news from our good friend at this point, Richkiller. Richkiller is a name that you might remember from some Cipher solves over the years. Richkiller's actually been one of the instrumental members of the Cipher solving community within the zombies community, making sure that all the little secrets that Treyarch and Jason specifically have been squeezing into the maps over the years are getting figured out before the ending of the story. And today, Richkiller has done exactly that once again and solved what is now the final cipher from the zombies comics. So we still have like 10 ciphers on Revelations. I think there's a Garrod cipher. There's a whole bunch in the Chaos story as well that still need to be solved. Like there's stuff out there that still isn't known as to what the solutions are and stuff like that. But the zombies comics, the Ether story zombies comics, have now had all their ciphers solved. And so today we'll be taking a look at the last comic cipher which Richkiller has just solved and all the rest of the zombies comic ciphers, just to sort of see if they ended up being particularly valuable, if there's any insights that we can get from those that might lead us to think in a certain way or a certain direction about things happening in DLC 4 and all that good stuff. Just gonna theorize a little bit and get you some knowledge. So, the final comic cipher was actually kind of solved via another cipher. So, Richkiller knew that a previous cipher was solved with a key that was not really understood, and then managed to figure out with a little bit of work that that key was Episode 3. Now, that Episode 3 key is something that Richkiller has used in the solving of this cipher as not only the alphabet key, this is a keyed vignette cipher, aka Quagmire 3, by the way, if you're interested, but also as the periodic key. So, Episode 3, and the solved cipher says the following: many souls have been lost forever. Many more are at risk. And that's it. That's genuinely all it says, which might as well say, in the past, people have died. In the future, people might die. It's quite brief and it's quite ambiguous, isn't it? It doesn't really tell us a lot. So we'll move straight on from that cipher and go on to the rest of the comic ciphers. For each cipher, I'll also let you guys know who solved it if it states it on the main wiki page who the actual solver was, okay? So each issue has 3 ciphers hidden within it, and there's 6 issues, so there's a lot of ciphers to get to. Let's do it. Cipher number 1 was solved by WaterKH and says, premise will fail. So, in all those videos that I've been making, when I've been saying, oh, it seems like premise is going to fail and Ultimus is going to prevail, part of that has been reinforced by these ciphers. Part of it is also from things like Shadows of Evil and from the rest of Black Ops 3, really, but there's other stuff from Black Ops 4 that also plays into it, such as in Classified, where it says that Ultimus might prevail, okay? So, that's cipher number 1. Cipher number 2, not sure who solved this one. Its knowledge is a curse. Now, this one's interesting because it's saying its knowledge. So I'm assuming that what it's talking about is the Chronorium. It might be that it's talking about some kind of other AI or something, but most likely it's the knowledge of the Chronorium, which is a curse. Now, you could think, the wording of this is interesting just because we've heard so much over the years about how only the cursed survive. And so in this case, its knowledge is a curse might sound negative, but if that curse makes you survive, then, I mean, it's not such a bad thing after all, is it? Coming in hot at number 3, we've got a vignette cipher, which was solved by Reese Wood, which says, the Keepers shall rise once more. Which is another interesting one, really, because the Keepers never really fell. Like, that's not really a thing that we know to have happened in the zombies story. We know that the Keepers banished the Apothicons to the space beneath creation. Like, we know that the Keepers were the dominant force there, and the Apothicons kind of had to yield to the Keepers' will. The Keepers rising once more almost sounds like the roles were reversed, and it was the Keepers that were banished beneath creation. So, interesting one there, a little bit curious, but again, you're starting to get an idea here that all of these ciphers are very brief and don't really say very much. Okay, moving on to issue number 2, we have an auto key cipher which was solved and fixed by Oxenate and Liz is a Dolphin. The plain text says, shadows are gathering. A great evil will be unleashed. Which again is about as fortune cookie cutter as you can get. So we'll just move on straight away to the next cipher. This is a bifid or bifid. I think it's probably bifid because bifid, I think that's the idea. The key was issue 2 here. It was solved by randomizer, and it says, events long foretold will soon come to pass. Which, to be honest, might as well have been part of the previous cipher. Shadows are gathering, a great evil will be unleashed, events long foretold will soon come to pass. They just run right into each other, right? Then, cipher number 3 for this issue is a veneer cipher that was solved by Liz once again, and says, beware those who would use the truth only to deceive. Now, the question would be, who is that? Who is using the truth to deceive? Well, you could argue that Richkiller might have done that in the past, but it's kind of shaky ground in my opinion. It's not really cut and dry that he has used the truth to deceive. I think that it's more possible that it's Monty being referred to here, who might have said things that have influenced the characters to do certain other things, but that might have had an ulterior motive the whole time, and that's where his deception has kind of come about from. So that one's a little bit up in the air, but let me know your thoughts on it on the comments down below. Randomizer also solved the first cipher from issue number 3, which was rail fence, and said, wisdom means little to the unwise, which is a really ambiguous one. There's a lot of room for interpretation there. I'm almost more interested with this in who it is that is actually saying the message. Like, a lot of these ciphers that we've had through Black Ops 3 kind of felt like they could be attributed to one person or another. But this is strange. Wisdom means little to the unwise. Is that just a sentiment that we should bear in mind going forwards? Is Monty unwise? No, I don't think so. Is Richkiller unwise or Primus Nikolai? No, not really. So this one's mysterious for sure. The next cipher in issue number 3 was by randomizer once again, great job, saying there are many histories, many futures. Only one can prevail. Now, I think this can be interpreted 2 ways. You could have this interpretation as just being that they've been in a loop for a long time. That has meant that there have been many histories and many futures, because obviously each time you go through the loop, it's a little bit different. It's not the exact same every single time. But then the only one can prevail would be this offshoot that we've broken out of the cycle with and have gone towards DLC 4 with as well. But there's another interpretation you could go for here too, which is that many histories and many futures have been observed, but only one person can prevail through all of that and actually make it through to the end. What if we get to the end of the zombie story and the only person left alive is Primus Nikolai? Just think about how depressed that poor man would be. Only one can prevail? Or even Ultimus Nikolai, sorry. If Primus are gonna fail, who knows? The third cipher of the third comic was the one we already talked about, solved by Richkiller. Many souls have been lost forever. Many more are at risk, so we don't need to talk about that anymore. Issue number 4, cipher 1, was a Porter cipher solved by Liz once again. The innocent must be protected. Now, the innocent, singular in this case, is interesting to me because we know that Samantha was one of the first people to come to the house, right? And she would have, at that time, been the innocent, the singular innocent. But now, at the point in the story that we're currently at, there's a lot more people in the house, and we think that those souls are innocent as well as Samantha's, right? So the fact that this is singular is interesting to me. I don't know if this just means that it's from a dated part of the story now, or if there's only actually one innocent soul after all. If only one can prevail, is it Samantha? Bit of a mystery if you ask me. The next cipher, though, is an Enigma cipher, which is an absolute ball ache to solve, no doubt. Randomizer's done it, though. It was Enigma M3, Valsa B, Valsenlager 1, 2, 3, Ringstellung A, Grundstellung U per F, for Vapin Zdripig Orte. That's actually just English at that point. I'm sorry for the accent. I'm just going to move straight on. The plain text was, on the final day, the soulless ones will be erased. Now, this is interesting because when I first saw this cipher, I thought it said soulless one. What do you know? I misread it, I guess, and it's soulless ones. So who is actually soulless at this point? Well, Maxis is gone. He didn't have a soul to begin with. He would argue with Richkiller about it, according to Monty. But he's gone now. He's dead. And I suspect that Maxis isn't coming back. But beyond that, the characters do have souls, it's just that they're the innocent souls in the house, so the soulless ones being erased could be referring to Monty and the Shadow Man, potentially? The next cipher is a nihilist cipher that Randomizer also solved. What a beast. Randomizer's been going through these like absolute clockwork. Plaintext says only their sacrifice will restore order. That's probably going to be the sacrifice of Premise. It's a bit of a sad one, that, to be honest. And then, just like that, we're on to issue number 5. The first cipher is a root cipher that was solved by Liz. Plaintext says, the voices of darkness and light will call out across time and space. Again, DLC 4, the voices of dark and light are going to be calling their armies into battle. The Keepers and the Apothicons are going to be butting heads here, and in order to butt heads, you have to rally your troops and call out to them across time and space to bring them into the fray. So that's probably what that's referring to. Primus and Ultimus, they're calling out across time and space and bringing everyone together. In fact, they might be bringing Victus in as well, according to the DLC teasers that we've already seen. So that's what we're seeing there. The Porter cipher that was the second cipher for this comic was also solved by Liz, which said the man-fool seeks redemption. He will not find it. I think the man-fool is Richtofen. I've always sort of thought that was Richtofen, but I guess you could argue it could be Nikolai as well. I'll leave that one up to your interpretation. I think the wording is quite funny, though. The man-fool. Like, that's kind of mean, isn't it? Cipher number 3 for this issue was Bifid, solved by Randomizer, and said the agents of chaos must be controlled. Which doesn't really say anything at all. The agents of chaos must be controlled is just like saying a general must control his troops. Like, it sounds like a proverb more than it sounds like something related to the storyline. So we'll just move on to issue number 6, okay? The Trithemius cipher that was the first one in here was solved by Randomizer and said, the Great Deceiver will make himself known. Well, that's interesting because earlier on we were talking about deception, and now the Great Deceiver is going to make himself known. I reckon it's going to be Monty, and he's going to make himself known. But at this point, we kind of already actually know that Monty has made himself known because he killed Maxis in front of our eyes. Eesh. Cipher number 2 for this issue was solved by Oxenate, and it was Bifid again, or Bifid, and the plain text was, his lies will doom you all, which, again, could be connected to those previous ciphers, right? The Great Deceiver will make himself known, the lies being told, the deception being carried out, and now those lies will doom you all? Okay, so does that mean that someone is gonna have a change of heart and start believing Monty again and then be doomed because of that? Or is something else at work here? What's going on? Or are the characters already doomed because of the lies that Monty told during Black Ops 3? Maybe this is a bit of a longer timescale deception that's been going on. And the final cipher from the final issue of the comic is The Cycle Begins, solved and fixed by Oxenate, and Liz is a dolphin. So, the cycle begins with the final cipher of the final comic. And with the cycle beginning, in a couple weeks now, comes the cycle ending. The zombie storyline is coming to a close, and to be honest, these ciphers don't tell us very much at all. They really are fortune cookie level pieces of text that might as well just not have been there, but I still think that it's cool that they did include them just for the sake of giving the cipher community something to chew on as we head towards the final DLC. Anyhow, let me know what you thought of all of these ciphers, guys, and if there are any bits and bobs of info that you think I might have missed amongst all of this stuff, then absolutely let me know, okay? Just give me a shout in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear it and be enlightened by some of your insights and maybe make some more videos on these if we can piece together some more things that I might not have realized so far. So thanks for watching, like I've said. Drop a like if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.